Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. One more person who tested positive for COVID-19 in Saskatchewan has died. It was someone in the 80-plus group in our northwest zone. There are 36 new cases in the province, including one in the immediate Lloydminster area where we have 18 active cases. Saskatchewan has 403 active cases, including 30 in the northwest where there are 3 new cases. 61 people are in hospital with 6 in our zone. More than 1.27 million doses have been administered province-wide, including over 77,000 in the northwest. With COVID-19 restrictions loosening across Canada and countries across the world, people are starting to book their foreign vacations now, and travel agencies are starting to see a boost in business. Jasmine King has the details.
For CWT Vacations Lloydminster, last year was a very slow year. And because of the travel restrictions, their most popular locations were Banff and Jasper. However, since June, they have been very busy, and now is the time to book, as everything is already filling up and prices are increasing every day.
Lots of Mexico, Florida, the States. The news that Disneyland is opening again has people pretty excited about being able to do their favorite theme parks. Europe, Antarctica, just all those bucket list trips people always put on the back burner are feeling like maybe it's time to do them now.
On July 5th, the federal government announced new quarantine rules that came into effect regarding travel outside of Canada.
If you are fully vaccinated and it's been 2 weeks since your second dose, you do not have to quarantine for 14 days when you get home back to Canada. You have to use the ArriveCAN app. You have to upload your first and second dose info into the app. You still have to test before you fly home and test once you get home, but not having to quarantine for 14 days if you leave the country is amazing.
But if you are traveling outside of Canada and have children under the age of 12, you still have to quarantine.
Again, Pfizer's testing clinical trials on 2 to 12-year-olds, so hopefully in the near future we will be able to get our children vaccinated if we so choose. But in the meantime, as the rules currently stand, you have to quarantine your kids when you get home.
The latest information on Canada's travel rules are available on the government's website, and Lambert says people should book now before it's too late.
Don't wait. Lock something in. Give yourself something to look forward to after the last 18 months.
Jasmine King, Primetime Local News.
After a long couple of months, the Ace of Hearts has finally been claimed in the Lloyd's X Chase the Ace, leaving one local resident close to $750,000 richer. 34-year-old Lloydminster welder Jordan DeGoody took home just over $730,000. He had been playing the Chase the Ace for the past few months and was thrilled to see that the Ace of Hearts was pulled as he watched the online draw. He plans on taking the summer off and spending time golfing and camping, but he'll also be investing for the future.
Pay off debt, maybe get some new golf clubs, take the summer off work.
Thanks to the Lloyd X community for taking part in the Chase the Ace over the past few months. Officials say none of this would have been possible without the help of volunteers who help process tickets each week. The agricultural exhibition has taken in close to millions of dollars from this lottery and will be putting the money towards upgrades.
Lots of facility upgrades and stuff to some of our buildings, grandstands, some equipment, that kind of stuff. So as you can imagine, like a place of this size, can burn through $1 million pretty fast, right?
The Lloyd X is considering putting on another Chase the Ace in the fall and will announce more information at a later date. The government of Saskatchewan has issued a public advisory warning residents to be on the lookout for blue-green algae. The algae can cause sickness in humans as well as in pets and livestock. Jillian Code sits down with water security expert to discuss.
Today I'm joined by Sean Osman, who is the Director of Communications for the Water Security Agency with the Government of Saskatchewan. We're talking blue-green algae today. So what exactly should people be looking for?
So blue-green algae can be toxic, particularly for pets and livestock. So, in high enough concentrations, it can cause sickness. It can cause death in high enough concentrations. In people, if you contact it, it can cause skin irritations, rashes, affect your eyes, that kind of thing. It can also make you sick. So again, we advise people to avoid blue-green algae. If you see it in the waterways, don't touch it, don't drink the water, obviously. Keep pets and livestock out of there as well.
And what kind of conditions are required for blue-green algae to form in a body of water?
So what we've been seeing over the last week, hot, dry, sunny, are just about prime conditions for blue-green algae. what we would like to see, obviously, if you had some rain, if you had cooler temperatures and cloud cover, that helps, disperse and flush the algae out of the waterways. So why we issued the advisory last week because of the conditions were ripe for it.
If someone goes to a lake, or even just if a farmer is looking at like his body of water for the livestock, what are some signs to look for to know if your water is contaminated?
So it's you'll know what to see it, definitely. It can be you'll see discolorations along the water. They might be blue, they might be green, they might look kind of like pea soup almost, kind of a variance of colors. But you'll definitely know it to see it, and it sort of floats around like a mat almost, or a big patch on the water. Obviously, the larger the patch, the more of it there is. So be aware. Don't drink the water if you see it. Boiling the water does not clean the water of the bacteria. So just avoid all contact.
And so, if someone thinks that they've come in contact with blue-green algae, what steps do you recommend?
What we recommend is if you've been in water and then realize maybe you're not feeling great, you've got a rash, you got red eyes, that sort of thing, contact your local health authorities. Here in Saskatchewan, 811 with the health line. I think Alberta has 811 as well. Contact them, let them know, and they will help you, figure out what the next steps might be, medical attention wise. If you have pets or animals, obviously remove them from the source of water. For agricultural producers, you would want to switch. If you find blue-green algae in some of your dugouts, switch your water source for your animals until conditions change, and seek veterinarian help if they're sick.
That was all the questions that I had. Are there any other aspects of blue-green algae that you think we should touch on?
No, I think we've covered it well. Just remind folks again to get out there and enjoy the water as much as they can this summer, particularly with the heat coming. But be aware and be advised that it's not something to play around with. It's just gross to be in the water. So enjoy, but be aware.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now here's Evan Kenny with a first look at your weather forecast.
Thank you, Connor. This heat we have been seeing will continue, as you can see here. 30 degrees here in Lloydminster. We actually got to kiss 31 degrees earlier today, making a new record high for July 9th. The previous record coming in 2015 at 30.6 degrees. So while we're just barely beating it, we are the warmest we have ever seen for July 9th. As we move on, take a look at some temperatures from across the region. As you can see, most of the northern prairies and mid-range of the prairie provinces are seeing a heat warning right now. 33 degrees in Cold Lake is actually the warmest spot in all of Canada. Not very often you see northern Alberta up there. As we take a look at some of the temperatures as well around the region, 32 degrees in Vermilion, St. Paul, and in Bonnyville, 31 in Lac-La-Biche, Edmonton, and Vegreville, as well as in Wainwright, and then down south, 29 over in Provost. As we take a look now at the Saskatchewan side here, 29 degrees down in Macklin, as well as in St. Walburg, 31 in North Battleford, 31 also in Pierceland, 30 degrees in Maidstone, and then 32 in Meadow Lake, Green Lake, and in Isle La Crosse. As we take a look now, some possible future precipitation coming for parts of Saskatchewan as well. For southern Alberta, there is a chance they could be seeing some thunderstorms overnight. As we move along here now, North Battleford, 12 degrees overnight, but things will be clear and that heat will continue. As you see, 33 degrees tomorrow and mainly sunny. Moving on to Cold Lake, same thing as I previously mentioned, warmest spot in Canada. That's just going to continue, 33 degrees tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud there. Taking a look now at your 3-day forecast. On Saturday, things will be warm once again with that mix of sun and cloud. Sunday a little cloudier, but things will be nice and warm for the North American Chuckwagon Championships to get started there. Our National Fishing Week contest has now wrapped up. Thank you to everyone for submitting your photos. Congratulations to the 5 winners, and they have already been contacted. We'll be back after the break with more news. Step 3 of Saskatchewan's reopening roadmap takes effect this Sunday, July 11th. Also opening on July 11th is the North American Chuckwagon Championship hosted at the Lloydminster Exhibition Grounds. I caught up with the voice of the CPCA, Greg Buchanan, ahead of the event. Well, from Sunday, July 11th to Monday, July 19th, will be an exciting time for the border city here in Lloydminster as they are hosting the North American Chuckwagon Championships. Joining me today to break this down is Greg Buchanan. Greg, thanks for taking this time and joining me.
Well, thanks for having me, Evan.
Now, Greg, obviously 8 days coming up of exciting racing. Just jumping into things here, Bucky, what can we expect from these 8 days here coming forward?
9 days. It starts Sunday, it wraps up Championship Monday. So got 9 days, and it's going to be a little different from the Calgary Stampede. Stampede is 10 days, but regardless of that, it's going to be 9 days. And I think the one key thing you're going to hear from a lot of the drivers, and just like the Calgary Stampede, talk about barn management and making sure your horses are ready to go each and every night, because every run's very important. I think for many of them, the first 3 or 4 nights kind of determines how those last 4 are going to work out for you and where you want to be in the standings. But it's going to be exciting. And I think it's not just the 36 drivers. You have a lot of other things going on. You have the Indian Relay for the first 3 nights here, which is huge. And if anybody's ever seen the Indian Relay and they haven't seen it, you got to get out to see it. We have a mentorship heats, which brings these rookie drivers that maybe never had a shot at going to that big show down south in Calgary that get a chance to be part of this show. And then on top of that, you have a heritage heat with a man, Brian Labicane, 6 Canadian championships, Ray Mitzwing, 7. So great to see where the sport is being promoted in so many different ways here over the next 9 days, from those 36 drivers to the rookie drivers to going back in history to some of the legacy. So we're looking back to the past, to the future, and to the present. So one thing that the North American Chuckwagon Championship is really doing is promoting the sport of chuckwagon racing in a very positive light.
Now, Bucky, just touching on a point you made, they're obviously great company with Laboucaine and Mitzwing there. I guess just take me through a little bit. What exactly is going to be going down at the Heritage Heat there? The
Heritage Heat is just 2 drivers that have a great history, that they were in the wagon box for decades, and going to give some fans, some old, some young, a chance to see some living legends on the track and just have a little bit of fun with it. At the end of the day, it's just another race. But at the end of the day, trust me, I know Brian and Ray, and Brian wants to win, but so does Ray. So don't just because they're past 65 years of age, there's still that competitive juice that gets into you once you grab the lines.
Well, and Ray Mitzwing, just finished up in 2019, so it's not even that long since his chuckwagon career just wrapped up there. Now, Greg, obviously, you followed the CPCA and chuckwagons for a long time, going to the Calgary Stampede and different events like that. Now, with the WPCA and the CPCA matching up here and sort of mixing for this event, is there going to be, are we going to see anything different? Is the racing dynamic change at all?
Well, I don't know if it really changes, but sometimes on the tour, the CPCA Pro Tour and the WPCA Pro Tour, you have a habit of racing against the same guys weekend after weekend after weekend. So you know what to expect from each one. But when you get locked into a heat with guys you've never raced against before, then you don't really know what to expect. You kind of a bit of a feeling out process for the first couple of nights to see, okay, does this guy like the rail? Does this guy take a wide turn off the barrels? All those little different things. You'll find out who has run coming home because it's a bigger track, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a chance to see a few drivers that are going to be coming here for the North American Championship have never raced in Lloyd, and that's going to be a fun thing too. And keep in mind, in the 2019 Calgary Stampede Championship Dash for Cash, 3 of those 4 drivers are here this week in Lloyd, so that's going to be fun.
Now, with all this being said, and like you said, some of these drivers have never been and raced in Lloyd here. So for some of the people who don't know WPCA drivers as well, Bucky, do you have a favorite going into this week of racing?
Oh, it's I'm going to put me on the spot because I would say Here's a dark horse. And while I'd say Todd Baptiste had a great show on Onion Lake, so he's going to be up the top. You got Logan Gorse, 2019 Calgary Stampede champion. He's going to be near the top. I like Luke Tournier, the way he's coming on, especially of late, especially in Onion Lake, and he likes his track here. So Todd and Ryan Baptiste, BJ Carey, don't count him out, knows his track. But one guy that maybe a lot of people aren't talking about is the man that won the Calgary Stampede Championship in 2009. Was Chad Harden. And Chad has always been a contender in the WPCA. He's here. And unfortunately for Chad, he was suspended by the Calgary Stampede for an incident on the track. And it probably did not sit well with Chad. So here's Chad's redemption here at the North American Championship. And there's so many people, fans and sponsors in a way, are kind of putting their, you know what, up to the Calgary Stampede. So here is Chad Harden, his perfect opportunity to do that on the track this week in Lloyd.
Well, Bucky, it should be an exciting week moving forward for anybody who cannot get to the track. You can listen to Greg Buchanan himself on Real Country 95.9. Greg, thank you very much for taking this time and joining me.
Thanks, Evan.
Well, taking another look now at your evening forecast, currently 30 degrees here in Lloydminster. Earlier today, we got up to 31 degrees, which is a new record high for Lloydminster on the day of July 9th. So quite a hot one here, and as well just for the region in general and the northern parts of each prairie. 33 degrees in Cold Lake was the warmest anywhere in Canada today. Taking a look at some of the other temperatures, 27 down in Red Deer as well as in Rocky Mountain House, 29 in Jasper and in Edson, and then 31 in Edmonton and 30 over in Whitecourt as we move over to the Saskatchewan side here now. 31 degrees in North Battleford, 32 in Saskatoon as well as in Meadow Lake, and then 30 in Prince Albert and 29 in Melfort as we head up north here now. 32 degrees in Flin Flon, 33 in La Ronge, 28 in Buffalo Narrows, 29 in La Loche, as well as in South End, and then 30 over in Wollaston Lake as we look now at northern Alberta here. 30 degrees over in Grand Prairie, 25 in Slave Lake, 28 in Peace River and in Fort Chipewyan, 31 degrees over in Fort Mac. As we head down south here now, 28 degrees down in Lethbridge, 29 in Medicine Hat, then 26 in Calgary, and as we saw it just change there, 27 degrees in Banff. Southern Alberta does have a chance at some thunder showers overnight here tonight. As we move now to southern Saskatchewan, 24 degrees in Swift Current as well over in Estevan, 29 in Kindersley and Yorkton, as well as in Moose Jaw, and 28 over in Regina. As we take a look here now at some of your national temperatures, while out west it's a lot of heat, a lot of dryness. Out east they've seen rain for the last handful of days and will continue to see that as the week progresses, or rather into next week. 22 degrees over in Vancouver, 16 in Whitehorse, and 24 up in Yellowknife. Let's take a look now. Overnight, going to be some clear skies, heading into some clear skies for the rest of the week, hovering right around that 15-degree range. 12 degrees in Unity is the low for the board, while Isle of Cross sits up top at 20 degrees. Looking at tomorrow, things are just going to continue when it comes to that heat. As you see there, 34 degrees in Bonnyville is the warmest for the area. 34 as well in Meadow Lake and Green Lake. 36 up in Isle of Cross. So another hot day, which should just continue into the hot week. As you look there, should be beautiful for the North American Chuck Wagon Championships that get off on Sunday there. 27 for that, starting things off. 30 degrees over on Thursday, should be the hottest for the week. That's all we have for weather for right now. We'll be back after the break with more news.
I'm joined here today with award-winning horror author Jennifer Ann Gordon about her newest novel called Pretty Ugly. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So can we start off with what your new novel is about?
Yeah, it's kind of a loaded question because I think people are like, what is it not about? So it is pretty ugly. It is, in short, a story that follows two main characters. One of them is Amelia. She is an Instagram influencer. And the other is a man named Sam, who is dubbed the new JFK, and he is the heir to a political dynasty, but he never had political aspirations. So that is who the characters seem like on the outside. But on the inside, they both are struggling with things that happened in their childhood. They're still struggling with grief and trauma that they were never really able to let go of. So that's who they are. But when they are is during a pandemic that might be ending the world. And it's not COVID. So I know a lot of people are hearing about it and thinking, I don't want to read a book about COVID. It's not. The idea came out in my head before COVID. So I'm sorry, it's a pandemic book, but it's more than a pandemic book. It's really the story of how people cope with the end of days and learning to love themselves and maybe learning to love other people. So there's a little bit of horror, a little bit of literary, a little bit of a ghost story, maybe some romance.
When's the exact day that this novel will be released?
It actually comes out July 13th.
Has there been some reaction so far before your novel has been released with just reviews and everything?
I'm very pleased. I'll be honest, a little nervous putting this book out. I tend to write more Gothic horror. So this is one of the first times I'm not really writing Gothic horror, but the reviews have been really good. I just read one yesterday that somebody said, was this horror? Was this romance? I don't know what it was, but it was pure genius. And to me, like those are the moments as an author you just live for because even when I was writing it, I thought, I don't know what category this book is. I know there's elements of horror to it, but it's not a monster book. And it's maybe not completely horror, but it definitely has horror elements. So the reviews have been good. I've had really amazing authors agree to blurb the book, including New York Times #1 bestselling author Wendy Webb, who she called it an exquisitely written horror novel. And Sean Cosby, who wrote Blacktop Wasteland and Razorblade Tears, he also had really amazing things to say about it. So,
is there inspiration that you'd want to share for how you came up with the idea for this novel?
I think we all live in this very social media influenced world right now, and we're very obsessed with how we look because we have to be, because most of the time there's a camera right in front of our face. So a little bit of it was taken from that. And part of it was also taken from the fact that when I was in high school, I had really terrible skin problems, and I would have given almost anything to be able to wear a mask or to be somebody else. So I thought about our society, and again, this was pre-COVID, so it was before we were wearing masks, but what it would mean to go through life wearing a mask because you might have facial scarring, or you might have the disease that is prevalent in my book, which I won't name because that's like part of the reveal. So I just thought about what it would be like for people when all they have ever been and all they've ever focused on is their outside appearance and what other people think they are, and they've never paid any attention to who they really are inside, and what would happen when they are forced to do that because they can't just be a face anymore or an image.
And when this novel is released, where can people go to find it and be able to purchase it that are interested?
So of course, Amazon is the big one, but it is also available at everywhere that books are sold. So I like to tell people, if you are a fan of independent bookstores, please go to bookshop.org and look up Pretty Ugly by Jennifer Ann Gordon. That will place the order through your local independent bookstore. Or if you are in Europe, or I know you're in Canada, or if you're in the United States, you can always order through Book Depository, and that has free shipping worldwide.
Perfect. And is there anything else you'd like to add for fans to expect with this new novel?
I would say fans that know me from my Gothic horror roots don't think that all of that is gone. People have called it a modern Gothic, so there is still elements of that and elements of my lyrical, poetic writing style. So enjoy it, go along for the ride. I'm very proud of it. And I can't wait to hear what people think.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us today, Jennifer.
Thank you, Shelby.
You've got a chance to check out some live music this weekend. It is the Tunes and Tailgates Drive-In Concert coming up tomorrow night, and this show is going to feature special guest Aaron Pritchett. You may have heard his huge hits like Hold My Beer, Worth a Shot, Boat on the Water, and so much more. And he's going to be one of the performers at this show, also performing Cross Parallel, Ray Muscle, and more. And it's all in support of the Second Chance Trail Ride Society, and they raise funds and awareness for organ and tissue donation. You can still get a ticket for this show. Showpass.com to get your ticket. The show's coming up tomorrow night in Elk Point. Starting on Sunday, the Lloyd X is going to be a busy place, and it is going to be the place to be. Sunday night is night one of racing for the North American Chuck Wagon Championship, and the races will go nightly for 9 nights of incredible racing. Some great Chuck Wagon drivers, outriders, and some horses as well that you'll be able to see right here at the Lloyd X. Then coming up on Wednesday, the Lloyd X Fair gets underway. There's going to be a parade on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. You've got an opportunity to check out all the different ag shows that are going to be a part of the fair this year. Thursday morning, they'll have pancakes. Saturday night, they have fireworks, and it will be free admission to get into the fair at the Lloyd X. For all the details on the fair and the North American Chuck Wagon Championships, you can go to lloydexh.com. And coming up on Wednesday night, you have a chance to support wellness programs at the Lloydminster Public School Division by checking out a drive-in movie. You can take the family to see Jumanji: The Next Level with the drive-in movie experience. Admission for this is by donation. You can get a ticket at eventbrite.ca, as you do need to reserve your space. Well, whatever you choose to do this weekend, we hope you stay safe and stay healthy.
What's Happening is brought to you by Northern Factory Workwear, Circle Drive East, Saskatoon, and Highway 17 South, Lloydminster.
Well, joining us for the entertainment panel, as always, is Abby St. John. Abby, we're continuing to get looks into new projects and new movies that are expected to be released in the coming months or so, into summer and into next year. And also same with TV shows, as Marvel continues to make its way with new series. And we are going to get a first glimpse of this new series, What If, which is a really interesting series, which is kind of depicts on, you know, kind of those what if situations in the Marvel universe. You know, what if so-and-so didn't do this or did that? Touch on a little bit more on what that trailer that came out recently and what that brought us.
Yes, we got our first real look into the show What If, and it shows, you know, the classic battles and storylines from the movies that we've watched over the years, and they change it to see what if this happened, like you mentioned. The trailer opens up with the scene from Iron Man 1, right before he gets kidnapped, the trucks get blown up, and then right before his missile was going to go off, Killmonger comes and saves him, and they end up teaming up together. So that's like the first look of the story changing, and then it goes on. And it shows different characters in different lights. It shows T'Challa as a Ravager, so he kind of depicts Quill's character, and his partners with Yondu. And it is also Chadwick Boseman's last role as well, so that's pretty special. All the characters are voiced by the same actors that we see in the movies, so that's also another thing that is wonderful as well. The Guardians are fighting in the Battle of New York instead of the Avengers, and it seems like Peggy Carter becomes a super soldier and becomes Captain Carter. So that's also really interesting to see. And it's going to be interesting to see where Steve Rogers' character falls and how that changes. They kind of glimpse at the Hulk and Natasha, Black Widow. So we'll see what kind of relationship that they have. But it's going to be really interesting, and we're going to see these characters in different lights and see kind of how, if the story changed just a little bit, if time and reality kind of switched and morphed into something different, what we could see and how that affects the rest of this rest of Marvel's storyline. So I'm very excited for this series. It comes out August 11th on Disney Plus. I'm very excited. It's going to be really different, and it's animated, so it's not live action. So they're really going to be able to do a lot of different things. You know, it shows at one point Loki has an entire army behind him. So see how his character has changed and see what that brings to that universe. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm anxious to see kind of how those scenarios go, and like, you know, you and I are Marvel fans. We do enjoy those movies, and it's also fun to, you know, see maybe I'm anxious to see if there's anything to do with, you know, with Ant-Man or Spider-Man in that regard there. One of the last things, Abby, we're chatting about, we talked about upcoming movies. We know a beloved animated movie is getting another sequel in the upcoming fall here. The Addams Family is expected to come back to theaters this coming fall in October, and you know, we got a glimpse of that, of course, in 2019, where it all kicked off with the cast of Oscar Isaac, Charlize Theron, just a really great cast, and just to name a few names there. But give us a sense of what this sequel is going to bring now.
Yes, so in this sequel, the animated sequel, they're going on a road trip when they discover that Wednesday and Pugsley are kind of pulling away from family activities. Gomez kind of is like, okay, let's break out the old family camper and let's go on a road trip this summer. And, you know, it's typical Addams Family activities. You know, Pugsley blows up the Grand Canyon and Wednesday terrorizes Pugsley any chance she gets. So it's that typical Addams Family vibe, but on a road trip at the beach, at the Grand Canyon, different landmarks across the U.S. It shows the Addams Family going to and, you know, creating chaos wherever they go. Typical Addams Family. And it looks really funny. It looks just as good as the first one that, like you said, came out in 2019, kind of kicked off that animated look into the classic Addams Family. And it was fantastic. And so the second one looks to be just as good. And Charlize Theron, Chloe Grace Moretz, Bette Midler, Oscar Isaac, Nick Kroll, Snoop Dogg, and Javen Walton and Bill Hader, they all make up this cast. And I think it's going to be a really great movie, just as good as the first one. And it comes out on October 1st.
I really like in the trailers, from if you notice, so you listen to it quickly, how they have you know, Snoop Dogg songs playing whenever there's Cousin Ed, and I still think that's such a really great casting by the people at Addams Family. Abby St. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, taking a final look now at your evening forecast for this hour. Tomorrow will be another hot one, 32 degrees here in Lloydminster, with mainly sunny skies, very similar around the region. Anywhere hovering from 30 to 36 degrees up there in Isle of Cross. As we look now at your 7-day forecast, 27 degrees on Sunday. Should be beautiful to start off the North American Chuck Wagon Championship, and continuing on throughout this week, it should be a nice sunny week, as you see there. Mix of sun and cloud throughout most of those days, with highs right around 30 degrees there.
Thanks for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a good night.